What's up, y'all? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and baby, let's get into the drama of it all. It's been a hot minute since I've done the drama video on camera. But hey, we going into the new year. Maybe new things will happen. Who knows? But let's get into the video. Let's talk about Gizelle first. So Gizelle is going on tour. She posted this to her Instagram called Gizelle's 21 Shady Questions live show. And she has 6 different locations that she's going to. First being Anaheim, Houston, New York, Dallas, Charlotte, and New Orleans. Only Anaheim, Houston, and New York have dates, and it looks like the tour starts on February the 5th in Anaheim. So if you go, let me know, because I want to know what she gonna be giving, because I'm really interested, because I'm just kind of like, it's called Gizelle's 21 Shady Questions. Is it going to be pre-planned 21 shady questions, and in each state is she going to switch it up? Or is it just called 21 Shady Questions and there's going to be 21 people in the audience who are allowed to ask her questions? And I hope they vet the questions, because some people will ask the same thing. So whoever is putting on this tour, I hope they're like, okay, girl, we already asked that. Pick a different question type energy. If the people are presenting the same questions to the people that are giving Gizelle these questions to answer. But I'm just kind of like, who told you to go on tour? I mean, hopefully it's lucrative for her. I am kind of surprised that like she hasn't really been talking about Reasonably Shady. Like I haven't seen any advertisement of like that podcast with her and Robin on her page, or any of the other blogs picking it up, because I would think she would have did what Tamra was doing with Two T's in a Pod with Teddy, where when anything big would happen between Tamra and somebody on the show, or something else really big and it didn't have anything to do with Tamra, they would talk about it. Same with Erica Jane, now that she's doing her podcast with Teddy. I was expecting Gizelle and Robin to do the same, like, maybe talk about what Mia said about her daughters, bring up the whole boys situation, or maybe Karen and her DUIs, or Wendy reconciling with her family, or talking about Jazzy and her, like, story about her and her man. Like, I was expecting them to use this show to keep promoting Reasonably Shady, even though Robin wasn't on it anymore. But it's like the show isn't really existing, but I know it still exists. Maybe it's just on hiatus, because when Gizelle was on the Breakfast Club interview, they did ask her about the Eminem lawsuit, and she explained that they're like almost done with it. So maybe they'll start promoting the show more heavily when they settle whatever they got going on with that case with Eminem. Maybe they have to change the name if they lose, or maybe they just want to make sure that all of that is together before they start promoting their show again very heavily. But yeah, let me know if y'all gonna go to that. I'm not going, but I would be interested to know like what's going down at Gizelle's 21 Shady Questions. Let's talk about Kim and Kory. So it looks like they finally have to put that house up for auction. That every time you hear a story about Kim and Kory, they fighting in that house because they didn't make the payments. And I'm happy, because this is going to force them to actually find separate homes, hopefully on the other side of the state or town. So it says this, and this was posted by No Smoke No More. It says Ariana Bierman posted a TikTok saying goodbye to her childhood home. Kim and Kory were forced to put their house up for a public auction since they couldn't afford to live there anymore and have failed to make the necessary payments. And the video was cringy. She was in there trying to pretend to be sad. I mean, granted, you can be sad because that is some place where you grew up. You saw your siblings grow up. You probably made nice family memories and stuff like that. But it was just cringy, and it made me uncomfortable. So I don't have the video because I didn't want that in my phone. I was just like, I don't know. But pretty much, I'm just happy that they have to like separate and sell that place, because every time I would get on Twitter and somebody would repost or post like the body cam footage or new body cam footage of like the police going to that house with Kim and Kory and their kids, I would automatically feel bad for the kids, because both of their parents are acting erratic. And it always made me feel like eventually this is going to turn into like a true crime special, and one of them is going to be serving 30 years to life for like harming or like, taking the other person off this earth, because it was just like they would be arguing about some of the most stupid things, and Kim would think that Kory was trying to like was locking her out of her room or stealing things from her bathroom because of the house being so big. The judge ordered one to stay on one side, the other to stay on another side. Kory would call because he couldn't get his stuff. It was just it was crazy. Like, y'all are arguing about not being able to use a closet because y'all hate each other that much. And I just felt like something bad was going to happen. And I didn't understand why the judge wouldn't have forced one of them to move. Preferably, I always thought it should have been Kim. Based off of like what I read, it seemed like Kory was like the primary parent in them kids' life. So I'm just like, then she got to leave if she not really helping take care of these kids. But I just feel like it's a good thing that house is up for auction and now they have to buy separate homes. Maybe it might help their divorce proceedings. Maybe they might not be so nasty to each other. But Lord, I was like, yeah, good for them. It's time. Y'all should have, like, someone should have moved out that house. Maybe it's just me. I'm just not the type of person that I don't like my home to be uncomfortable. So if I was going home to an uncomfortable situation every day, like that would make me physically ill because I'd be riddled with anxiety. So I would have moved if I was one of them. But I'm glad they got to separate. Let's talk about Real Housewives of New Jersey. So there was an excerpt of an interview that Dolores did with People magazine that was going around for the past, day or so. And I wanted to add my 2 cents, but I didn't really have anything, I think, new that I could add to the conversation online. So I said I might as well just bring it over here and just share my thoughts on my channel. But if I can find the article, which I probably will, I'll put the link in the description box below. But it says this: Dolores Catania blames her co-stars for RHONJ being put on pause. So she goes on to say this: we didn't film last season, so we're not coming back. We're not going to be airing in January or February. Of course, I look forward to seeing my cast come back on the screen and even come back to film, but they made a mess. I'm a little mad that everybody couldn't get it together. I really am. She tells People magazine. She goes on to say, we effing lost something along the way. I'm looking at Salt Lake City. I'm looking at Beverly Hills, and they fight, but they don't go for the jugular. They don't hit below the belt. They agree to disagree, and they move on. So here's the thing. And so to me, Dolores has a point, but not a whole point for me. The cast definitely lost the plot, but the issue is where I differ with Dolores is where she says that on Salt Lake City and Beverly Hills, they don't go below the belt. They don't go for the jugular. They definitely do. And she was like, but they move on. They agree to disagree and move on. No and yes. They just understand what they're doing. Your cast lost the plot. To me, the network lost the plot and the fandom lost the plot. Because the way the network should have set Teresa, Joe, and Melissa down season 9 or 10 and told them, we sick of y'all fighting back and forth, and that if y'all can't reconcile or have a base level, like a surface level relationship and keep it pushing, then we'll get rid of all 3 of y'all. But they didn't do that. So then the 3 of them started to feel like we're untouchable and we can split the group however way we see fit and move on. And that's what they did. And then you look at the cast, as much as I enjoy trout mouth pigtails Margarita Josephs, she started to feel the same way as Melissa and Teresa and Joe, where she was like, the show's not going to go on without me. And this show doesn't need Teresa. Now, do I agree with her? Yeah, but I felt like they should have got rid of Teresa and Melissa last season. I was so over them fighting. I didn't care about Louis being in the mix. I didn't care about Joe and Louis not liking each other. I didn't care about the whole Frank Jr. and Louis situation. They definitely could have kicked off Melissa, Teresa, Louis, and Joe, and we could have had a show. But the network felt like they were so pivotal to the show, and that was the fandom's fault as well. But then the fandom also contributed to the toxicity, because when I tell you the tree huggers are nasty, just like the Gorgettes are nasty, the things that I saw people saying about these people's kids and these women, like they personally knew these people, was wild to me. And it was nasty because the show was never that deep. Even when I was reviewing the show, I've never really had to delete comments until I started reviewing Real Housewives of New Jersey last season. their last season, which was season 14. Because people were saying stuff where I'm like, okay, girl, I don't like them, but it ain't never that deep. Like the stuff that people were saying about Rachel Fuda and her husband, did I like the man? No. He looked weird to me and she got on my nerves. But the things that people said in my comments, I was not about to co-sign. No, ma'am. Because I don't know that lady. I don't know that man. And I'm not going to put that type of energy out there on nobody's kids or people I don't know. Like, they never personally did anything to me. But the way people were talking as if they did, they contributed to the toxicity, because I bet you them women were looking at who was saying things and who they supported and was like, oh, so your fans are doing this to me, so I'm going to do this to you, and vice versa. So to me, it was everybody, the cast, the fans, and the network. Honestly, all y'all had to do was get rid of 3 people, and y'all didn't want to do that, and now you don't have no show. And I think Dolores also needs to take accountability, because if Dolores would have been like even the way she is, because the thing is, Dolores did set herself up the best way where they could bring her back and she could be featured with anybody except probably Jackie and be fine. But Dolores, as much as she likes to play like she's neutral, she's not. And if she really cared about the show the way that she is talking about in this little excerpt, then she would have told Margaret, girl, get it together, or we're not going to have a show anymore. And she would have told Teresa, get it together, or you're not going to have a show anymore. And we could have left it at that. These new alleged shows that are coming out for Real Housewives. There's supposed to be this one called Real Housewives of Rhode Island. The other one's supposed to be called Real Housewives of Toronto. So let's talk about Real Housewives of Rhode Island first. So this was posted by Dorinda Deadly, and they were like, allegedly, they have started filming for this show called Real Housewives of Rhode Island. And they ended up showing a collage of the alleged women that are filming right now. And then they also attached a video of a lady who is alleged that she was propositioned or had a sit down with the producers to basically be a part of the show as well. But at the time when they were trying to get her to be a part of the show, it was supposed to be like Southern Charms, like version of a show, not Real Housewives. So as they continued like doing casting calls, they switched the idea from being Southern Charm to actually being a Real Housewives show similar to New Jersey. So I'm gonna play the clip of the lady where she talks about what the show was supposed to be about initially, and then we'll discuss.
I'm not sure if this is the official page for it. It is real. So let me give you a background of everything I know personally, because 3 of my friends were scouted for a TV show, and a friend of a friend was apparently scouted for this specifically. The way it started was they were trying to do a Southern Charm, but in Providence with prominent Rhode Island families. They were also apparently looking in Newport, and somebody I'm not the biggest fan of was bragging and saying that she was going to be on it, which she's definitely not. And now apparently it switched the focus to the Real Housewives of Rhode Island, and it's apparently more Cranston-based. My name was floated by my friends who were scouted by it for the kind of like Southern Charm, but in Rhode Island concept that they were floating around. And then one of my other friends was scouted for something, and they were talking about casting prominent Rhode Island Italian families. So it was 2 separate producers who reached out to 2 of my friends. 2 of my friends were scouted by the producer kind of wanting to do a Southern Charm, but in Rhode Island. And the other friend was scouted by a producer kind of trying to form an Italian families reality TV show based in Rhode Island. And I heard rumors about who would be on the Italian themed one, but those rumors were never confirmed. I was at lunch, and one of my friends and her husband just happened to be there, and I was like, oh, did you hear about the Real Housewives of Rhode Island? She's like, yeah, some of my friends are actually filming it right now. So it's currently filming. And I only know one cast member. It's a family friend's girlfriend. I don't know her personally, so I don't have any thoughts. But I would say it would be more like comparable to a Real Housewives of New Jersey feel. But I'm just wondering how it's going to be executed. Like, where are they filming? Are they filming specifically in Cranston? Probably Providence, Cranston, East Greenwich. If I had to guess. All I have to say is the ladies better rep. You better be going to Providence Diamond and dropping 6 figures. Or else. But I'd heard from multiple sources that this was actually happening. And like I said, I don't know if this is the legitimate page for the actual show, but it is currently filming. So who knows if it's going to air.
So here's my thoughts. I don't know if they should try to mimic Real Housewives of New Jersey, but in Rhode Island. Like, let Rhode Island be Rhode Island and let New Jersey be New Jersey, unless you're going to bring it back or reboot it. But I also feel like they just should have stuck with the whole Southern charm of it all. Because if these women are actually supposed to be who is a part of the show or who is filming for real, they're not really giving Real Housewives. Like, I do know that they're trying to make Real Housewives appeal to like younger demographics, but I don't think they understand, as someone who grew up when Real Housewives was in its golden ages, like in the early 2000s. I didn't really watch Real Housewives. It wasn't until I got older where I saw, like, the value in the shows, and I enjoyed the reads because I understood them more. That I don't think you have to make everything appeal to younger audiences for them to appreciate it. Because I looked in the comments of the ladies that were posted, and people replying to this tweet were saying that a lot of these women are influencers. And that's not something that I'm interested in to watch on Real Housewives. Now, I did watch a show, Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, and I can't wait till it comes back. But all of the women on that show were influencers. But it made sense because that is the way the show was marketed to people. And the age group also fitted very well, because I think the youngest person on the show was either 22 or 23, and then the oldest two people were either 30 or 31. And I'm like, okay, they're all in this, they're either Gen Z or they're millennials. And then you got zillennials in the middle. Like, it made sense that they could relate to each other, teach each other different things. Whereas on this cast, it seems like there's only two people who are like in their 40s, and everybody else is probably in their like mid 20s to early 30s. Possibly everybody's in. It's just, it don't look like it'd be interesting. I also don't like them trying to make this another like New Jersey type show when I'm just like, keep it like you're in a new state, give us a new vibe. You know what I'm saying? But hey. So next is the Toronto show. So this is what they posted. It says another potential franchise is the Real Housewives of Toronto. And I Googled because I was like, isn't there already a Canadian Real Housewives show? And there were actually two. There was already a Real Housewives of Toronto, but it only got one season. And then I remember watching Real Housewives of Vancouver, and I guess they have multiple seasons, but it says this: Bravo has filmed a pilot after a successful reaction. Filming for an entire season allegedly began next year. It says the rumored cast includes Roxy Earle, Natalia Gee, Keisha Shante, Sasha Exer, and Jessica Mulrooney. Mulrooney. Ooh, girl. Y'all know me in last names. It says this would be the second time the Housewife franchise has hit Toronto, but the first time for Bravo. So I'm guessing the other one, the other Real Housewives of Toronto, was a high U version of Real Housewives, and Vancouver is owned by High U, not Bravo. This one looks a little bit better. One girl does look like an influencer. The others, not so much. But drop down in the comments below, y'all, and let me know, are you interested in Real Housewives of Rhode Island if it's true? And are you interested in Real Housewives of Toronto if that becomes true? Talk about Real Housewives Beverly Hills. It looks like PK is regretting his decision. I don't know. But this was all over the blogs for the past couple of days. So first I saw it on Bravo Snark side, where I guess PK was on this podcast called Bravo's Hot Mic, and it says this: PK says he regrets doing RHOBH and says things said on the show are not true. So basically, he was pretty much saying that everything that Dorita's saying is not all true, and he actually feels some type of way now that the show is coming out. Mauricio was on there with him and was trying to get him to understand that, like, don't take everything to heart. Like, this was done 9 months ago and everything was real fresh. But let me play the clip for you.
Regret doing the show?
Now, yeah. Of course I do. I'm not with the love of my life, so of course I regret it.
But then going back to, you just said that, obviously you can't reverse that, here we are. But then if that's love of your life, are you going to end up back together? Are you going to...
No, I have no idea. At the moment, I'm very clear on what my priorities are. It's my sobriety and my kids. And those are the two things that are going to drive me. Dorit and I share these beautiful kids, and they're always going to come first. And we're going to do our absolute best to avoid, falling out. It's a very difficult time at the moment, particularly when we're going to re-watch. And I've got no idea at all what Dorit said on this show. So for us, we're going to be watching this, No idea what
for
she
the
said.
first time.
Yeah, for the
Yeah.
first
Right.
time, and no right of response. I mean, this is a
Just
right of
remember
response.
that as you watch, it happened 8 months ago.
Yeah.
But Dorit always
remember
says
Yeah,
that.
and but I think that's true and fair because as going back to I said that with the first episode where she was really raw and hurt because you really made the decision to separate, right? So you took that action. So she was just taking that in at that point, and so I think that a lot of the things that she said reflected her own emotional state at that point.
I think that's right, and I don't. As much as I'm upset to watch it, that's not going to define the outcome of Dorit and me.
Right.
It is difficult. I've always struggled with the concept of watching something and it's not in the real time, and are we in that's because it takes you back very,
Yeah,
very.
absolutely.
Is the right word viscerally or
Yeah.
it becomes very tangible, and also in this particular instance, Dorit was merging 20 years of my life's history, focusing on all the bad elements. So to sit and just listen to that and have to relive that and almost say, well, that's not what happened. And that's not what happened. And, oh, I didn't support her during the burglary. What are you talking about? And all that stuff. And you see it and you think, not only is it not true, but then you read about it and then my mum calls me and says, why is she saying that? Why is she saying that? Do you know what I mean?
So here's the thing. I don't know how much of Dorit and PK's relationship drama I believe. And the reason why I say that is it's like a lot of the things that PK and Dorit have given us have felt like stunts and shows. It just has felt that way. We just gotta be honest, okay? And there's a part of me that feels like, this could be real. Like Dorit could be wanting to like file for divorce or leave PK. Maybe she might file for divorce after the reunion or as the series continues. There is another part of me that's like, well, is she going to pull a Ashley where she's still with him for separated for 2 years and then file for divorce? Or is this like where they're going to get back together? It's like I'm trying to gauge how invested I should be in this. And part of me feels like I shouldn't be invested at all because it is Dorit and PK. But I do think it's kind of interesting that he's now coming out being like, I regret doing the show because I'm not with the love of my life. And a lot of people are like, well, he's only saying that because he's seeing all the love and the praise that Dorit is getting for this season. And I said, yeah, y'all, he could be saying that. But I'm like, well, how long is this love and praise going to last for Dorit? Like, legit, it's like the tide is starting to switch up on her, where I've seen people be ecstatic about the energy that she's giving on the show, up until now. But in the beginning, when the first couple of episodes of the season were premiering, everyone was like Dorit, 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 Dorit. And now it's kind of shifted where I'm starting to see more of a, I would say a balance in a sense where you got people being like, nah, she doing too much. And other people be like, oh no, y'all, she's great. This is her season and all this stuff. So I'm like, how long will that praise last? So it's like, I don't think you can base him switching up how he feels based off of the fans and the viewers. Maybe he does regret it after watching the season back, especially now that he feels like Dorit is saying things that are untrue about him. But then I'm also looking at PK. Well, you're the one that filed for the separation. The same way I look at Kyle when she gets upset with Mauricio. You filed for separation. What are you expecting for this person to do? Do you want them to fight for you? Or are you expecting them to take their time moving on away from you? I think that you're not allowed to dictate how people feel about you once you decide that the relationship is no longer something that you're interested in. And I don't know. I don't know if Dorit is lying about PK or putting 20 on 10 like the people say, or if PK is lying about Dorit. You just never know with the two of these people. You just don't know. I do appreciate Mauricio speaking up in defense of Dorit when he was like, well, you got to remember that was 8 or 9 months ago. And you just filed separation. The wounds are still fresh. And I was like, well, that is true. And they always say that when you do reality TV, you live moments 3 times. When it actually happens, when it's time to film it, and then when it's time to go to the reunion. So it's for some people, they get triggered all over again, and sometimes they can't come back from it. And I don't know if PK is feeling well, this isn't how I felt in that moment, and now I'm seeing it play back. And then also the added input of fans possibly dogging you out might make you feel differently about the conversations that you had on TV with your loved ones. So let's talk about Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. When I tell you Bronwyn has a lot going on and she needs healing hands, and I'm not saying that like sarcastically or like trying to be funny, because I was on Twitter just scrolling and I saw someone repost this article about like them suing, like someone getting sued, and it was Brahman and Todd in the caption, and I was like, oh great, like they're suing the person that, you know, allowed their dog to attack Bronwyn. But then when I further looked at the screenshot, no, they were talking about Bronwyn and Todd getting sued because their dogs attacked somebody. I said, girl, what? So this is what it says. It says K9 Chaos, RHOSLC star Bronwyn Newport's husband Todd sued for $360,000 after dogs attacked 2 delivery drivers at $6 million Utah mansion. It said a female Instacart employee claims a dog gave her a significant injury. And this was posted on November the 13th, 2024. I said, girl, that's basically a month ago. Now it makes sense why Bronwyn and Todd probably are not suing the guy that dog attacked her, because I read somewhere that they actually offered to get the dog help and it not be euthanized, because they probably don't want that to happen to their dogs, because they got too many dogs. Too many dogs. The other thing I want to talk about is, unfortunately, Bronwyn made a post on, I want to say Instagram, that her mom was diagnosed with a brain tumor. It says this: RHOSLC star Bronwyn Newport's mother diagnosed with brain tumor. It says the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City star Bronwyn Newport spent Christmas in the hospital with her mom, who underwent emergency surgery for a tumor in the back of her skull. So it goes on to say, she posted this saying, I hope everyone that celebrates had a very Merry Christmas. Bronwyn began her Instagram stories. December the 26th, a month ago, my dad, who has Alzheimer's, fell and broke his pelvis. It put on an incredible strain on my mom, who has for almost 10 years insisted on being his sole caretaker. The 39-year-old said she knows something was amiss when her mom started struggling to manage day-to-day duties and keep getting more and more exhausted and frail. My mom has had several dizzy and confusing, exhausting symptoms almost 30 years ago when she had a brain tumor. Bronwyn continued explaining how she flew to California on a particularly frail day for her parent. I went straight from the airport and we received the bad news. I was both expecting and not expecting. So basically, I think the surgery went well, but that's a lot. Your dad has Alzheimer's, you got attacked by a dog, and now your mom has a brain tumor and had to get it removed the day after Christmas. So like I said, healing hands, because that's a lot. That is a lot, okay? To some more like cringy and funny news, Jared and Brittany are now officially a couple. I said Jared and Brittany are now a couple. He made this cringy collage with, I think it was the band U2, or I don't know, whoever behind it. And he captioned it saying, when an angel comes into your life that brings you happiness, peace, and love, you hold on with both hands. Introducing my beautiful girlfriend, Brittany Bateman. I said, I was like, are we in, like, I don't even think high schoolers do this. I'm not even going to disrespect the kids in high school, because what is this? What is this? And then Brittany, with her cringy self, was in the comments. This is what Brittany said in the comments. Brittany was like, I'm so happy and so in love with you, baby. And then she added Jared. So then Jared responded on Instagram saying, I love you more than words can express. Then they posted this really cringy video, and I can't play the audio, but they were basically doing a voiceover from Wicked. And she was like, everybody. And then you see Jared walking and they kiss. And I said, oh, stop it. They are like a train wreck that you can't look away, because I don't know when I tell you Britney's self-esteem has to be in the earth's crust. Like it has to be in the core of the earth. Because girl, there's no way I would be trying to get with a man who months prior was saying that like he was only with you to help your career, that like you're delusional, that he never led you on. Like, girl, but then I should have known Brittany was unserious when she was like, Jared, I love you. I love you. I can't. And the thing about it is like she gets on my nerves. She really does. But then I enjoy laughing at Brittany. I hope they bring her back so I can laugh some more. So I forgot that I had one more thing about Brittany before, putting up all my equipment. So here we are. This is coming from Mary Crosby's fan page, but they're talking about the reunion. And they said this: Brittany Bateman showed her entire ass at the reunion. And some on production loved her antics, others didn't. Let's just say if you're one of her fans, you will enjoy her antics at the reunion. Personally, I was told it seems inauthentic and a desperate attempt to secure another friend contract. If Brittany returns, she'll be one of the friend ofs. So, are y'all looking forward to the reunion? I am. I won't say I enjoy Brittany's antics a lot, but they get a good laugh out of me. So, I'm here to see the shenanigans if this turns out to be true. So yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. Remember to be bravely authentic. Definitely hop down in the comments below. Subscribe if you like what you heard. And give me a thumbs up if you like what you heard. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.